Happy St. Patrick's Day. Not the topic of the video. Happy day, nonetheless. Yeah. Hope you all are celebrating Catholicism's expanse into Ireland today. And from there, the topic I mentioned last week, I mentioned two things last week. One that I said I'm going to talk about today, last Monday. And the other one, maybe I'll talk about it next week. And it has still been on my mind. So I am going to talk about it, which isn't very common that I have two of these just kind of loaded and ready to go. But it has been on my mind a lot lately, so I'm going to talk about it for a minute, and that's just elder abuse, and not even necessarily in the dramatic sense. I think we use that term too dramatic, but or at least we can at times. But just mistreatment of elders, which is a really big issue, and from a mental health perspective, it's a big deal. And one of the focal points there is to think for a second on when you're interacting with children, and we'll say, maybe 4 and under, 3 and under, and you talk to them like children. You maybe put on a baby voice. You potentially talk a little bit slower. You're a little bit more animated. You're treating them like a human, but like a infant, toddler human. And if you were to talk to a 10-year-old that way, they'd give even sometimes a 5-year-old, really, especially if you're doing a baby voice, they'll give you a side eye and wonder what the heck you're doing. Why are you talking to them like that? I'll use that example because we do that with the elderly a lot. I see that a lot. People unnecessarily talking louder to them, talking slower, um, double checking things that they say or that the speaker is saying, making decisions for them. It's gross and super common. There are definitely those in the older community that's the communication needed, but for a lot of people it isn't. Um, and it's something I'm pretty attuned to and don't like to see. Um, I also have, um, how would you say it, experience, interest in people that I care about. Have taken time to intentionally be part of the disabled community, which, as with everything, terms change, but specifically, uh, the term that I typically use is developmental difficulties. People will talk to them differently, or someone's in a wheelchair and they are a little bit different, and someone will just assume not mentally there, but they are. Then it's this kind of, we're stepping in with a perspective that we're in a better place, so we're going to communicate down. And most people aren't thinking they're talking down, but that often happens. You see someone in a wheelchair, and maybe their body's shaped a little bit different than you, and it's clear that they're in a wheelchair long term or for life, and your first engagement is baby talk or talking slowly or talking to whatever other adult around them you can find instead of just to them as a person, because you're like, I don't know if they're all there. And I get that people aren't trying to be rude, um, and I understand it can be hard to tell fully if that person's there, but it's not that big of a, I should say, if they're not fully there and able to communicate. But I don't know, it's to me more worth it to take the risk trying and let whoever's with them correct you than to not do that. And that's a whole other video I can get into with how we interact with the developmentally disabled community. And you can see me stumbling over phrasing. Those phrasings change all the time, and people have different preferences. So, um, yeah, I think about myself getting older, and I feel like I have a responsibility to take care of my body and my mind, and ideally, that when I die, hopefully of old age, people say, I didn't even know he was sick, or I'm surprised he passed away. I don't want to be declining in a way that when I pass, people say, oh, it was coming. Now, it doesn't matter how hard I work at that. Some of that can be out of my control. There is a lot of that, Alzheimer's, dementia, um, physical struggles. A lot of that is in our control to prevent, but not fully. So, but I want to do everything in my control to prevent a notable decline. Now, I say that because I think for me, there's a personal responsibility that I have to take care of myself. And then I also put responsibility on other people too. When I'm older, I don't want people to, let's say I live a long time and I look like I am old. I don't want people to treat me differently because I look older, or talk down to me, or assume I'm not tracking or understand. And so, as I said, I see this a lot, and I think there's a high chance that a good amount of you listening are doing this and thinking that you're not. I usually see this with people I really care about who have no idea that they're doing it to the elderly. And it's really small things, like saying something like, well, so and so can't hear us while they're in the room, and then we have a conversation. And that might be true that they can't hear, but that's a very quick, we're just going to dismiss you from the conversation. Um, and you wouldn't do that to someone who's 30 if they couldn't hear. You would try to figure it out unless they've clearly given you permission, like, I'm not going to be able to hear, just do your thing. Comments like that. Or we're trying to figure out lunch plans, and so and so says, the older person says, I'd like to go to here, and then their kids or their family say, well, you didn't like what we got there last time, so we're not going there. Who cares? It's They want to go there. I get that there's wiggle room if that person's like struggling with their memory and they hated it, and you're like, but that's where you connect as a human. You don't talk down to them. You say, hey, remember last time you got this and you really didn't like it. Do you still want to go there? But so many people just say, you didn't like that, we're not going there, or we don't want to, we're not. And I do think some of this connects with our culture leaning away from respecting elders now. It just is not a given that we should do that. I was raised to do that. I plan to raise my kids to do that. You respect your elders, which is not the same as just bowing down to everything they say or do. It's just honoring them in a pretty active way. So I think as we've lost that, elder abuse has increased on the level that I'm talking about, this subtle thing, not the extreme examples of you're like a parent's guardian and you're like not feeding them and you're keeping them in a room and they're an inconvenience on your life. I'm not talking about that. That stuff's awful, and I do believe most people can see that that's awful. I'm more referring to the examples I'm giving of little subtle things of making decisions for them or saying, no, you're not that way. And I genuinely believe this increases their rate of decline because you're treating them as less than a human, um, less than what they have earned in their old age. And it's a defeating feeling. So, and we can all relate. Every single person I imagine listening to this can recall a time where they have felt talked down to or that their opinion wasn't considered. And it doesn't feel good. I don't know anyone who has described that as anything other than not a good feeling. So, yeah, I think those two examples I gave are pretty clear, but just being respectful is probably the key to it. You're all out walking around at a mall or hanging out, and you just kind of ditch the old person, or you walk ahead of them, and just it's little things like that. And I don't think everyone's world has to revolve around that elder in the family. Um, and a lot of families often have one or two people who do a great job connecting. It's just small things, and this can happen at restaurants and going out and about too. But I usually see with families who just kind of think they know better, and um, they don't typically. It often comes down to a form of selfishness, which pretty much all of us are at risk of engaging in. So I take this to say, if you have elders around you, it's a subjective word, very hesitant to give an age. Um, I've seen 70-year-olds look like they're struggling and 70-year-olds look like they're having the time of their life. So really the line here is, I would say, probably notable decline or notable age, where yeah, and to be fair, in these examples, usually the people that are being disregarded or abused are showing signs of decline. Like, that's true. They might be struggling with their memory a little bit. They are struggling getting around. They are struggling hearing, but they're being treated as if they are further along in that than they actually are. Someone who's 80 and they forget maybe like two things a day, that's fine. I forget stuff every day, but it's it's a question of, oh, they forgot that they didn't like that restaurant, so I'm just gonna disregard their opinion of any restaurant they want. They probably still know food that they like. It's just this weird jump from, oh, you have a slight decline, I'm gonna make all the decisions for you when I'm around you. So don't do that to people. Don't do that to people. And I do think the start of this comes from respecting your elders. And what if they did hate it and want to go back? Who cares? As far as I'm concerned, especially if it's a parent or grandparent, go where they want to go. Um, I know that might not be everyone's preferred take, but my perspective is, um, yes, I can have an opinion about it, but when it comes to my parents and my grandparents, um, it's because of them I exist. So wherever you want to go is fine. My opinion doesn't really matter. Um, so, and I say that as a encouragement for day to day, not as a me doing that perfectly all the time kind of thing. But so yeah, don't be a jerk to old people. Simple as that. Treat them as if you were their age and wanted some form of respect. So that's what I got this week. I know it's not directly linked to mental health, but I really do believe that that kind of treatment uh, accelerates mental decline, and it doesn't do anything for your own health in the moment other than stroking a bit of a selfish ego to get what you want. Just it's so much better to put the effort in to connect with someone that you're struggling to connect with in older age, to get the family or the group heading in a collective direction, as opposed to making executive decisions for someone who actually is able to make their own executive decisions. So that's all. Happy Monday. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Not at all on topic, but there you go. For those of you who are Irish, like me, have the best day you possibly can at work, I guess. So, yeah, I'll be working all day, which is good. There's a parade down the street probably that I might hear. We will see. But I'm not really a parade or heavy drinker kind of guy. So those are not for me. But I did wear kind of green on accident today in my hat and didn't think about the holiday. So no pinching for me. Anyway, if you enjoy these videos, like, subscribe, share them with people. Um, I said it last week. I said it this week. Almost at 100 subscribers. Might be at 100 subscribers. I don't know. I'm well aware that that's not a big number, but it's a fun milestone. So, and once I hit that, I got a fun video planned to celebrate it. So, yeah, tune in for that. If you need therapy assistance, reach out in the comments. Let me know. I'll do what I can to get you connected with me in this city or elsewhere. And yeah, do what we can to take care of you. So, have a great rest of your week. See y'all.